why we worship. Whenever the living creatures give glory and honor and thanks to Him who sits on the throne, who lives forever and ever, the 24 elders fall down before Him who sits on the throne and worship Him who lives forever and ever, and cast their crowns before the throne, saying, You are worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power, for you created all things, and by your will they exist and were created. Revelation 4, verses 9 through 11. Let's face it. Comedian Bill Maher reportedly once said, God has a big ego problem. Why do we always have to worship Him? If you know anything about Mr. Maher, you know that he's a rather poor authority on religious matters. Being downright hostile to believers. He does raise an important question, however. Why worship God? For you created all things. Heavenly beings declare, and by your will they exist and were created. The living creatures and the 24 elders understand something very important. God alone is worthy of worship, because God alone is the source of life. If God did not exist, we would not exist. A connection to the living God, an understanding of who He is, and a recognition of our utter dependence on Him is vital to our well-being. We cannot function properly while separated from God. We cannot be truly human apart from Him, and perhaps more important, we cannot continue to exist without Him. The act of worship maintains our perspective and reminds us of who God is and who we are. Worship is an invitation. It is not a matter, in the words of skeptic philosopher David Hume, of God having a restless appetite for applause. The ability to worship, to having a living connection and relationship with the Creator, is a gift from God. We need worship, and to be spiritually and emotionally healthy, just as we need proper nutrition to be physically healthy. It is no more ego that drives God to delight in worship than it is for a shepherd to delight and caring to provide for his sheep. Oh, come, let us worship and bow down, the psalmist writes. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker, for He is our God, and we are the people of His pasture and the sheep of His hand. The claim that ego drives God to desire worship is but a faint echo of a fallen angel's accusation that something is essentially wrong with the divine government. There is a direct path from that accusation to the misery we find in a fallen world. Worship is the path to restoration, which is the essential tenet of the gospel story. Restoration. God's mission. In your presence is fullness of joy, David writes. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore. Remember, God is not a tyrant, and he will not violate free will. We have a choice. So make it.